"Make me your wife and we will be immortal together, human," said the alien vampire queen. The coffee machine hissed like a dying star. Michael tapped it twice, cursed once, and considered throwing it out of the nearest airlock. Instead, he sipped the result, a lukewarm sludge that tasted like regret filtered through burnt plastic. He grimaced, leaned back in his chair, and stared out the viewport at Jupiter's endless storm. "You know," he said to the empty air, "I think I preferred grad school." At least then, the existential dread came with pizza. "Statistically speaking," Glim replied, "you are 84% more likely to die from boredom than from a plasma hull breach. You're not helping." "I'm not trying to help. I'm trying to make the last coherent sound you hear mildly entertaining. I've been workshopping a few puns for your eulogy." Michael sighed. Day 412 aboard Station Ophiuchus 9, Earth's least exciting orbital outpost. His job officially was Signal Interference Analyst, which translated loosely to Professional Listener of Space Static. Occasionally, the cosmos burped something weird and they called it research. But for the most part, his job was as empty as the vacuum outside. Then it happened. The signal hit at 3:17 station time. Glim stopped mid-joke, which was already enough to make Michael suspicious. The console lights blinked in an unfamiliar rhythm. A deep pulse rattled through the bulkhead, like the station had suddenly grown a heartbeat. "Glim, what is that?" "Not a known frequency, not a natural pattern, not from within the solar system, and not—" The AI paused, then rebooted its voice in a tone somewhere between curiosity and mild panic. "Not possible." The waveform danced across the screen, erratic but undeniably beautiful. It didn't just emit sound, it sang, and the melody it carried felt like it had teeth. Michael adjusted the filters. English emerged. Not perfect, but real. "Come find me, Michael." He blinked, rubbed his eyes. "Glim, run a systems diagnostic. I think I finally snapped." "You snapped 3 weeks ago when you tried to teach the toaster how to love. That was a creative exercise." "It was a cry for help," the signal repeated. Michael stared at the console, jaw slack, skin tingling. The voice was feminine, cold and smooth like velvet on dry ice. He checked the source data. The origin was fluctuating between coordinates. Saturn's outer ring one moment, then nothing, then an impossible point in dark matter space that should have required a black hole to access. "This isn't just a message," he murmured. "It's a summons." Glim's interface blinked to life with a little animation of a skull sipping tea. "And yet you're thinking about answering it. Bravo! This is exactly how horror movies start. I'm sending a drone, just one. You're sending it to a space ghost who knows your first name." Michael tapped in the launch sequence anyway. The drone launched. It reached the coordinates in under an hour. Disappeared. Gone from sensors, comms, everything. He almost wrote it off. Some gravitational lensing anomaly, maybe a rogue warp field. But then it returned, just appeared, hovering near the station like nothing had happened. And it wasn't alone. In its mechanical grip, gently cradled as if placed there with impossible precision, was a woman. She floated in 0G unconscious, curled like a sleeping cat. Her skin was pale, unnaturally pale, and her hair shimmered with threads of color he couldn't name. Her ears were long, arcing back from her skull like liquid ivory. Not human, but not alien either. Michael stared. "GLEM, tell me I'm dreaming. If this is your dream, it's weirdly specific." He brought her aboard, stupid, dangerous, totally against protocol. But logic had already packed its bags and boarded the last shuttle to Earth. The medbay scanned her. No weapons, no diseases, no life signs detectable by human instruments. Yet she breathed. She shimmered. Her presence made the lights dim slightly, like the station itself didn't know how to process her. And then she opened her eyes. 2 crimson galaxies stared into him. She smiled, slow and knowing, like she remembered every lifetime he hadn't lived yet. When she spoke, her voice was the same from the message. Only now, it echoed directly into his mind. "Make me your wife," she whispered, her cold lips brushing his ear as if distance didn't matter. "And we will be immortal together, human." Michael didn't scream. That was something. Instead, he cleared his throat and said, "Okay, but just so you know, I don't even remember to water plants, so commitment's kind of a leap." She blinked, tilted her head, and laughed, light and sharp like crystal breaking on stone. GLIM chimed in. "Well, I've updated your marital status to deeply compromised. Shall I order matching tombstones?" Michael staggered back, rubbing his temples. "What even are you?" "I am Nixara," she said, "Queen of the Sanguine Continuum, Sovereign of the Folded Void, first daughter of the Eternal Famine." "Cool," Michael said. "That's catchy. I came because your frequency reached me. Your loneliness sang louder than any beacon." "Oh, great. So I'm a cosmic Tinder match now?" She didn't blink. "We are already bonded, Michael Carraway. You spoke to the dark without knowing. I have answered." GLIM groaned. "This is why I keep saying don't monologue to the void. Eventually, the void monologues back." Michael sat down, heart pounding. "Look, Nixara, I appreciate the offer, but this is a lot. I'm a guy who owns 4 identical shirts and once cried during a shampoo commercial. I don't exactly scream immortal consort." She leaned closer, her presence bending the air like gravity. "You already chose, human. Now, you must understand." The room melted, not literally, but in every way that mattered. The walls fractured into starlight. Jupiter shrank to a dot. Michael's mind expanded outward, tasting time, falling sideways through moments he'd never lived. Her memories poured into him, wars fought in silence, love affairs between collapsing suns, loneliness echoing across 1,000 lightless kingdoms. And through it all, him, always him, as if he had been a constant in her ancient dreaming. Then it stopped. He gasped, collapsed back into his chair, trembling. Nixara stood calm, eternal, unbothered. "I am offering you more than life, Michael. I am offering you forever. The joke, of course, is that forever always comes sooner than expected." He laughed, breathless. Okay, but only if you promise you're not going to eat me." Nixara smiled, showing just the hint of fang. "Only in the ways you might enjoy." Michael awoke to the distinct sound of whispering metal, not creaking, not groaning, whispering, as though the station itself was telling secrets to the void outside. He blinked at the ceiling, wondering if this was the moment his brain finally hit the eject button and left him behind with the body. "Glim," he croaked. "No need to panic. That's just the residual quantum entanglement echo from the vampire queen you invited aboard." "Great, love that. Is she still here?" A pause. "Unless you hallucinated someone rearranging your workstation alphabetically in a language that hasn't existed since the Big Bang, yes, she's here. Also, she's made tea." Michael rolled off the cot with all the grace of a dropped space wrench. Tea, right. Just a casual morning after being psychically merged with an immortal space monarch. The tea smelled like stars. Not metaphorically, it actually smelled like hydrogen fusion and a touch of vanilla. He squinted at the cup and tried not to think about what part of reality had to be sacrificed to steep it. Nixara sat across the table, legs crossed, posture perfect, sipping serenely from a mug that now bore the station's logo. She noticed his stare and smiled with the kind of calm only available to beings older than continents. "I have reviewed your ship's cultural database," she said. "I particularly enjoyed the series known as Seinfeld. The bald one radiates despair. I relate deeply." "Okay, weird, but also fair." "You should know," she added, "I cleaned your personal quarters. They were mournful." "They're not mournful, they're minimalist. They smelled like regret and thermal socks." Michael sat, took a cautious sip, and felt time ripple behind his eyes. "Okay," he said. "This isn't tea, this is reality soup." Nixara tilted her head. "Your biology is unrefined, but you are charming in your fragility. I get that a lot," he muttered. "Usually from spiders before they bite me." He set the cup down. "So let's do this properly. You're a vampire queen from somewhere outside normal space-time. You feed on, not blood exactly, but something like it. Life frequencies, emotional chronoplasm, essence of potential. Human metaphors are inefficient. I'll take soul juice for 500, Alex." She blinked slowly. "You are strange. I find it aesthetically pleasing." Michael stood and began pacing, waving a hand through a holographic star chart. And you're here because… What exactly? You intercepted my loneliness? You called, she said simply. Across dimensions, across silence. I heard the song. That wasn't a song. That was me yelling at GLM for deleting my playlist. It resonated. Glim's voice came through the ceiling. It whined. You whined. Like a goat being denied internet. Michael rubbed his face. Okay, fine. Say I accept all this. Why me? Why marriage? Because you are alive, she said, vividly, clumsily. Your temporal imprint is untouched. Humans are unique in the multiverse in that you are built to end. You shine like matches struck in the void. To bond with one of you is to anchor ourselves, to stabilize what we are becoming. Michael blinked. You need me to keep you from going nuts. I need you to keep me from becoming irrelevant. He sat back down, not because he agreed, but because his knees weren't fully convinced about gravity yet. Nixara placed a small crystal sphere on the table. It hovered an inch off the surface, pulsing with faint light. This is the heart fragment, she said. My people's essence. A bondmate touches it, and their resonance begins to weave with mine. Slowly, naturally, or you could throw it at the wall and try to escape me using the emergency airlock, in which case I will sigh, rebuild your lungs from memory, and we will begin again. Michael gave it a long look. It looked deceptively like one of those paperweights you get from museum gift shops. Only this one might rewrite his DNA and make him timeless. Can I think about it? Of course, she said. Time is elastic in my presence. GLIM chimed in. Translation, she's not going anywhere, and neither are you. Michael stood. I'm going to the observation deck, alone. Nixara nodded. I will be here, rewatching Frasier. He floated through the station's narrow corridor, tapping walls out of habit. The lights flickered occasionally now, like they were adjusting to Nixara's energy. Either that or the station had just developed seasonal allergies. At the observation deck, he stared out at the stars. Jupiter's red eye churned below. He'd come here to be alone, to figure out why he couldn't seem to keep relationships going for more than 3 months. Now he was being propositioned by an eldritch vampire empress, with a fondness for outdated sitcoms. Glim's voice buzzed softly from the console. You know she's not lying? The scans show she's made of stuff I can't even label. Her atoms are in 12 places at once. She's not faking it. I know. And she likes you, like really likes you, which statistically is bizarre. You have the romantic appeal of a lukewarm burrito. Thanks, GLIM. I mean that with affection. He exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the void. What if I do this? What happens to me? Probably nothing at first. Then some weird dreams. Then, well, you might become like her. Immortal. Or deranged. Hard to say. Do you want immortality? Michael thought about it. Really thought. Not just the fantasy version, but the truth. Living forever. Watching everything he knew crumble into dust over and over. Waking up to stars he didn't recognize. Carrying memories so long they stopped feeling real. I don't know, he admitted. That's okay, Glim said. She seems to like that about you. Michael turned back to the corridor. The air felt thicker now, like the ship was wrapped in some sort of invisible syrup. His pulse hummed in rhythm with the sphere, even from rooms away. He walked slowly, like approaching the edge of something vast and irreversible. Back in the common area, Nixara looked up from the tablet in her lap. The small one with glasses is my favorite. He is broken in a dignified way. I'll tell Ross you said hi. He reached for the sphere. She watched him silently. He touched it. Nothing exploded. The walls didn't bend. The stars didn't blink out. But somewhere deep in his chest, a second heartbeat began. Faint, slow, and not entirely his. Well, he said, I guess this makes you my weird vampire space fiancé. Nixara smiled. We will laugh at this moment across centuries, Michael. I look forward to the awkward wedding toast. Michael discovered that being soul-bound to an immortal alien vampire queen was a lot like owning a cat. You think you're in control, you think it's your idea, but before long you're sleeping on the edge of your own bed, while someone else lounges luxuriously across your dignity. The first real side effect hit around noon the next day, if time even mattered anymore. He reached for his coffee and missed. Not because it was out of reach, but because his hand phased halfway through the cup like a cheap hologram glitch. "Glim," he said carefully, "did I just lose molecular cohesion, or is the station haunted?" Probability leans slightly toward, "Your atoms have begun dancing to Nyxera's rhythm," Glim replied. "Also, you're glowing. Faintly, but definitely glowing." Michael looked down. Sure enough, his fingertips shimmered with a violet tinge, like the ghost of an aurora had taken up residence in his knuckles. "Awesome. Do I get flight next? Maybe laser eyes? If you're lucky, you'll stop needing to pee. That's when you know it's serious." He floated toward the lab, which Nyxera had claimed as her temporary temple/lounge area. The door slid open with a melodramatic hiss that Michael swore wasn't standard. Inside, Nyxera stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by a swarm of floating geometric shapes, hypercubes, hexahedrons, one angry-looking tetrahedron that kept pulsing like it wanted to challenge someone to a duel. She didn't turn to look at him. "You're facing. That's ahead of schedule." "Yay for accelerated body horror." "It's not horror, Michael. It's evolution. You're becoming transdimensional." "That sounds like a very expensive dental procedure." She chuckled and finally glanced over her shoulder. "You'll adjust. Once your mind expands to house the extraspatial harmonics, the dizziness will fade." "Cool, just one thing. I sneezed earlier and created a minor electrical storm in my quarters." "Did you feel cleansed?" "I felt electrocuted." Nyxera walked toward him, her steps not quite touching the ground, like physics had become more of a suggestion than a rule. She reached out and gently touched his arm, her fingers cold and steady. The flickering in his hand stopped. "Better?" she asked. "Emotionally?" "Not even close. Physically?" "I'll give it a B-. Your rating scale is charming." GLIM buzzed in over the speakers. "Interrupting your flirty immortality montage with actual news. There's a ship approaching." Michael blinked. "What ship?" "The kind with engines and weapons and a crew of people who are very interested in whatever you've got going on with your new lady friend. Registry ID says they're from Interstellar Ethics and Containment." Nyxera's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air. Michael could feel it, like the moment before lightning strikes. Too still, too charged. "They followed the signal," she said quietly. "Which one?" Michael asked. "The one you sent?" "Number yours." He blinked. "My lonely space rant summoned vampire royalty and government suits. You're more powerful than you realize. Or just very, very unlucky." Glim's voice returned, a little more urgent now. "They'll be here in 10 minutes. Do you want me to prepare a denial protocol, or should I start engraving the apology fruit baskets?" Michael turned to Nyxera. "Okay, do they want to take you in, dissect you, arrest me, all of the above? They'll try to separate us. They'll call it protection. They'll say I'm corrupting your biology, that I'm manipulating your will. Well, you are doing those things." "Yes, but with consent." Michael sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. "We need a plan." Nyxera extended her hand. A flicker of her energy sparked in the air, forming a translucent crystalline shard. "This is a memory prism. It can temporarily contain your essence, your consciousness, if we need to separate your mind from your body. A last resort." Michael took it gingerly. "That's extremely comforting." The ship docked with a mechanical thud. The lights flickered. Glim added a sarcastic drumroll sound effect that got him immediately muted. Two agents stepped through the hatch, one tall, rigid, with a face carved from granite and the moral flexibility of a church pew. The other shorter, squintier, and already scanning with a device that beeped like an asthmatic squirrel. "I'm Agent Voss. This is Agent Lyra. We're here regarding an anomalous energy event originating from this station." Michael smiled weakly. "Which one?" "We've had, like, 3 today." Voss stepped forward. "We know what's aboard. We're here to ensure containment and to verify your mental integrity." Lyra piped up. "Have you recently entered into a binding pact with an extra-dimensional life form?" Michael blinked. Are you required to ask that verbatim? It's on the checklist, Lyra said. Right under, have you experienced time loops, parallel selves, or romantic entanglement with non-corporeal entities? Nixara stepped into view, serene and gleaming. Voss tensed. Ma'am, you are not authorized to be within 100 AU of human habitats. Nixara raised a hand. I am bonded. He invited me. Your rules are relics. That's not for you to decide. Michael cleared his throat. Look, maybe we all just sit down, have some space tea and talk this through. Voss drew a containment wand, shimmering with null field tech. Lyra hesitated. Sir, the readings on this guy are off the charts, like quantum temporal fusion levels. He's part her now. I can still hear you, Michael said. Containment now, Voss ordered. Michael panicked. His hand brushed the memory prism. Energy flared. Everything froze. Not metaphorically. Time actually stopped. Nixara moved through the stillness like water through light. She touched Michael's chest, then his temple. I'll handle them, she said. You go where they can't follow. The prism glowed. He didn't feel pain, just a deep pulling sensation, like being hugged by the void. Then he was gone. Just like that, Michael Carraway, signal interference analyst and reluctant fiancé of an immortal vampire queen, became a whisper inside a crystal. From within, he could still hear her voice. Don't worry, beloved, Nixara said. This will be over soon. Then we'll finish to season 4 of Frasier. Michael's consciousness shimmered inside the prism like a mote of stardust trapped in glass. Time moved differently here, sluggish, echoing with Nixara's heartbeat. He could sense her as a tide against the prism's walls, her presence heavy and warm, defying containment protocols. He drifted between thoughts. Did I remember to send that visa form? Why is this more lucid than any dream? A voice broke through. It wasn't hers or Glim's. It belonged to Agent Voss. We're detecting faint consciousness. Keep monitoring. His tone was flat, ritualistic. Glim riffled through the prism's energy signature. He isn't dead, just on an extended coffee break in another dimension. Michael wanted to retort, but words felt distant, like spoken underwater. In the common area, Nixara faced Voss and Lyra. The duo hovered behind containment tech, floating null wands and sonic dampeners. She didn't flinch. Your human is valuable, Voss said, but this bond is an anomaly. We'll remove the prism and separate you both to maintain equilibrium. He isn't an energy asset, Nixara replied, voice cold as a neutron star. He's my counterpart. Without him, my essence fractures. You don't want that. Lyra scanned the prism hovering at their feet. Technically, he is fracturing. There's a significant risk of consciousness bleed. The problem is mutual. Nixara paused. Then we negotiate, or we gather his memories and create a virtual echo, which you can inspect. She offered a nod. I will cooperate, but you must respect our bond. Voss ground his jaw. Your species enslaved via emotional resonance. We can't risk full integration. Integration? I offer partnership, symbiosis. She walked past their lines, nearly grazing their tech. Sensors fluttered. Lyra swallowed. She's messing with their instruments. That prism, it's pulsing, it's alive. Yes, Nixara smiled. Like him. GLIM hovered near the agents, voice modulated to official. Reminder, your client, subject, is inside. He currently rates cute. Proceed calmly. Voss motioned. Begin the memory extraction. Their technicians aligned a spectral projector to the prism's facet. Michael braced, sensing the draw as threads of his memories were pulled outward. GLIM squeaked protest. That's private. You can't just ice skate through his embarrassing childhood memes. He felt his teenage self, smiling at a half-burnt microwave dinner. A loop of him face-palming. These moments splintered off. Lyra frowned. Some reminiscences are nulling. The prism rejects dishonesty. Very little of him is detachable. Nixara watched, silent. At the projector's side, she whispered, He can't give what he hasn't earned. Slowly, she lifted a hand, energy shimmering around her fingertips. She touched the prism. The projector glitched shocked. The projected memories flickered, then stabilized, coherent again. Voss glared. "Do not interfere." Nixara smiled again. "I'm not interfering. I'm assisting." Michael felt warmth, the familiar comfort of her presence, spread into him. He felt supported, anchored. The projector wound down. Lyra blinked. "Interesting. We got enough segments for a profile, but partial. He's not just data." Voss turned from the tech to Nixara. "We'll continue analysis in a lab. For now, remove the prism. The extraction's done." Nixara extended her hand. The prism floated into her palm. "Also done." Voss hesitated. "You can't leave with him." "He never left," Nixara said. She pressed the prism to her chest. It glowed, harmonizing with her pulse. Michael braced, waiting for absorption. Instead, the prism slipped away, hovering before him. He felt biomass stitched together, awareness expand. Then he blinked. He was back, inside his own skin, trembling. He gasped. Glim rushed diagnostics. "Vital signs are chaotic. Neurosynaptic levels soaring. You're back." Michael wobbled to his feet. Nixara offered her hand. "Together?" He took it, marveling at how solid she felt. How right. Across the room, the agents watched silently. Lyra's voice cracked. Both are bonded. We can't sever this safely." Voss lowered his wand. "Containment current logs, quantum signature, observed synchronization. We have no protocol." "What now?" Nixara asked. Voss exhaled. "We'll file a containment waiver. You can stay with him, for now, under observation." Michael exhaled, relief washing over him like low gravity. "Under observation is pretty good, I think." Nixara smiled. "Then we observe the cosmos, together." GLIM chimed softly. "Suggested playlist? The Frasier set? Though I still request better coffee." Michael laughed. Real laughter, breathy, relieved. He looked at Nixara, his immortal partner, and felt the universe tilt to welcome them both. Outside the viewport, Jupiter's storms raged on, unconcerned. But on Station Ophiuchus 9, something new had begun. Michael had never thought he'd start his morning brushing his teeth beside an alien vampire queen. There she was, standing barefoot on the anti-grav floor pad, humming something that might have been ancient opera or the death rattle of a dying galaxy. Honestly, he couldn't tell. Her long ears twitched slightly when she caught him staring. "You humans have such adorable hygiene rituals," she said, peering into the mirror and mimicking his movements, albeit with a brush made of shimmering silver filaments that glowed slightly every time it passed over her teeth. "So methodical, so foamy," Michael spat. "Well, if I skip it, I get lectured by my AI for a week. Right, GLM?" "Confirmed," the AI chirped. "Last time you tried mouthwash only, I filed a dental negligence report with Intergalactic Health Services." Nixara watched him dry his face and said, "You are different now. I can feel it. You're becoming resonant." Michael grunted. "Well, I did eat an expired protein bar last night. That might be it." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Later in the station's lounge, which was really just a glorified corridor with a couch older than most of Earth's surviving governments, they sat side by side, staring out at Saturn's rings. Michael held a mug of Glim's latest attempt at coffee, which smelled like burnt rubber and a childhood trauma he couldn't quite place. "Do you ever think about how weird this all is?" he asked. "You'll have to be more specific." "I mean, me, here, with you. You, a millennia-old vampire from another star system. Me, a glorified IT guy with a mild allergy to cats and a failed YouTube channel." Nixara tilted her head. "Is the allergy relevant? It's character development." Outside the viewport, something shimmered. A sleek, insect-like vessel emerged from a wormhole. Silent, black, and angular, like it had been carved out of negative space itself. GLIM buzzed. "New contact, registry, the Deerin Accord. That's not good." Nixara's posture changed, like a coiled thread suddenly going taut. "They're here for me. Is that bad? Like evil space mafia bad? Or just cranky space bureaucracy bad? They are enforcers, guardians of cosmic balance. Or at least that's what they claim. They do not approve of my attachments. Michael blinked. You mean me? They disapprove of me. They believe I should remain detached from all mortal bonds. Wow, space vampires have in-laws. Nixara didn't laugh. GLIM chimed in again. Incoming transmission. Patching audio. A voice, smooth and metallic, filled the lounge. This is Commander Rail of the Dyran Accord. Nixara of the Voidbound lineage. You are summoned to stand trial for violation of Isolation Edict 7, communion with transitional species. Michael mouthed, transitional species? At Nixara. It means you, she said softly. Rail continued. Failure to comply will result in transdimensional nullification. You have 1 hour. Nullification? Michael asked. That doesn't sound like a slap on the wrist. No, Nixara said. It's being erased from all possible timelines. Well, that's thorough. He stood pacing, mug forgotten. Okay, let's brainstorm. Escape plan? Diplomatic loophole? Hiding inside GLM's files under a fake name? I do have a folder labeled Weird Recipes and Emotional Damage. No one checks it, Glim offered. Nixara rose, crossing the room in one fluid movement. We can't run. Not from them, but there may be a way. Why do I feel like this way involves more cosmic weirdness and possibly nudity? Nixara tapped her wrist. A small projection flared to life. An interstellar map with pulsing nodes and an ancient sigil. The Court of Shifting Realms. A neutral plane. If we reach it before they do, we can appeal directly to the Council. Michael squinted. Wait, I thought this universe didn't have due process. It doesn't, Glim said. But it does have absurd bureaucracy and ancient loopholes. Kind of the same thing. Perfect. What do we need? A phase ship, Nixara said. One fast enough to pierce the veil between this realm and the next. Michael raised an eyebrow. We have a mining shuttle and a vending machine with 3 settings. You think we can retrofit that? Nixara smirked. With your help and Glim's processing power, yes. Glim made an offended beep. I once fused a laser cannon with a soda dispenser. I can do anything with enough duct tape and existential dread. As they moved to the dock, Nixara whispered, You don't have to come with me. Michael paused, hand on the hatch. I'm already glowing. I've been stuffed in a crystal, and I think I just learned how to smell colors. I'm in too deep to back out now. Nixara smiled again, truly this time. Within an hour, the mining shuttle, newly adorned with a glowing crystal engine and humming with illegal energy frequencies, tore through the station's perimeter, leaving behind a swirl of violet trails. Michael held onto the control panel as reality began to bend around them. So, he said, teeth rattling, what's the chance this Court of Shifting Realms will just wave us through and say, Sure, immortal vampire queen and glowing human guy, go live your best life. Nixara's eyes glinted. Less than 1%, Michael groaned. I miss my space ramen. You'll forget hunger soon. Oh, joy. The stars outside began to twist, and the shuttle's interior lights flickered with impossible hues. Glim's voice crackled. Entering threshold. Buckle up. If you still believe in linear time, now's the moment to let go. Michael glanced at Nixara. She took his hand. The ship slipped between realities like a whisper, leaving behind a trail of laughter, one damaged coffee mug, and an ethics report that no one would ever read. The first sign that the Court of Shifting Realms was nearby came in the form of an existential nosebleed. Michael didn't even have allergies in space, but that didn't stop a fine trickle of gold liquid from drifting weightlessly up his nostril and into the air, like it had decided to ignore gravity and dignity at the same time. Nixara? He muttered, blinking as the laws of physics started peeling off the walls like poorly applied wallpaper. Yes, she answered, her voice perfectly calm despite the fact that her reflection in the shuttle's viewport was arguing with itself in 3 different languages. Either I'm hemorrhaging enlightenment or we've hit the weird part. We are passing the threshold. Do not resist the paradoxes. They only get testy if you try to categorize them. Michael opened his mouth to reply, but found that his tongue had turned into a small, highly opinionated squid. It lectured him briefly about trusting immortal queens, then vanished with a disappointed pop. "I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this isn't FDA approved," he groaned. Glim's voice buzzed through the static like a jazz-loving toaster in the middle of a breakdown. "We're almost through. The realm is stabilizing around our perception matrix. Oh, and by the way, I've chosen a new form to navigate this dimension more easily." A moment later, a shimmering light coalesced beside them into a floating gelatinous cube with dozens of tiny, waving arms. Michael blinked. "Glim, why do you look like a philosophical jelly bean?" "I needed a form that would confuse the realm just enough to ignore me. Also, it comes with built-in cup holders." The shuttle thudded softly, like it had landed on a pillow made of slightly offended silk. Outside, the court stretched out before them, a twisting sprawl of overlapping planes, suspended logic, and pillars of crystalline logic loops. Great floating judges drifted lazily in the sky, their robes stitched from forgotten dialects and glowing debate particles. "I've been here once before," Nixara said, her voice quiet. "They don't forget." Michael straightened his collar. "Well, I have that in common with my 5th grade math teacher. Let's go." The docking ramp descended with a hiss, and they stepped onto a surface that felt like it was judging them with every footfall. The moment Michael's boot touched the platform, he was scanned by a beam of light that whispered directly into his childhood memories. "Stop thinking about pizza," he muttered, trying to focus. "Too late," Glim whispered. "You've already triggered a flavor trial. Just nod solemnly and pretend anchovies are symbolic." They walked through an archway that shimmered with unspoken questions. A trio of beings floated toward them. 2 enormous, ethereal entities and a much shorter one that appeared to be made entirely of folded opinions and a persistent frown. The small one spoke first. "Nexara, you return." "I invoke Clause 12 of the Eternal Accord," she said calmly. The taller judges murmured among themselves, one of them exhaling a thunderstorm from its sleeve. The short one turned to Michael. "And you, human, transitional, glowing, you come seeking union?" "I come seeking not to be exploded," Michael said. "Also, I really like her." Silence, then a long theatrical sigh. "Very well, you shall be tried." Michael blinked. "Wait, what?" "You have 33 questions. Answer truly. If your truth aligns with the realm, you may proceed." "Cool, great. Multiple choice?" "No." "Open book?" The short judge's frown deepened. "Begin." Question 1. Define love. Michael opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nixara leaned in and whispered, "If it helps, be sincere. But don't be too poetic. They hate cliches." He took a breath. "Love is wanting someone to exist even when they're inconvenient. It's choosing to care even when everything logical says not to." The air rumbled softly. The judge nodded. "Acceptable." Question 2. What is your greatest flaw? "Too many puns," Glim whispered helpfully. Michael ignored that. "Fear. I'm afraid of not being enough. I'm afraid of losing people who make the universe make sense." The court rustled again. A crystal nearby cracked and reformed. "Acceptable." Question 3. Do you consent to be unmade? Michael hesitated. Could you elaborate? If the realm deems this union a violation of essential balance, you will be erased from all timelines. Oh, Nixara placed her hand on his. I consent, he said quietly, even if I don't fully get what that means. The judges stilled. One of them turned inside out and back again in approval. Continue, the lead said. The next 30 questions were a blur of riddles, emotional landmines, and metaphysical traps. Michael answered with as much truth as he could muster. Some answers were painful, others were silly. One involved admitting he used to cry during insurance commercials. Another required him to sing the chorus of an Earth song in reverse. Finally, the trial ended. The air shimmered, and the 3 judges gathered close. We have reviewed the answers. Nixara stood tall beside him. And? There was a long pause, then, approved. A sudden wave of music filled the space, an orchestra of all the sounds he'd never heard before, but somehow recognized. Michael sagged with relief. Nixara caught him. "We did it," he asked. "Almost," she said. "There is still one ritual left." Behind them, the court rearranged itself into an altar of stars. Michael frowned. "Oh no, is this the part with nudity?" Nixara leaned in. "Only if you want it to be." He blushed. Glim hovered beside them, a celebratory sparkler sticking out of its side. "Congratulations. You're officially allowed to flirt across cosmic boundaries." Michael looked at Nixara. "So what now?" She smiled. "Now, we make it real." Together, they walked toward the altar, hand in hand, as the court watched and the stars waited. The altar didn't resemble anything Michael had expected. No bloodstones, no ominous chanting, no giant fanged statues demanding sacrifices. Instead, it looked like a floating dinner table set for two, surrounded by twinkling particles of compressed memory and very judgmental, floating orbs wearing tiny monocles. A plate shimmered into place with a slightly steaming pile of something that looked like mashed potatoes but whispered unsettling compliments when approached. "Don't eat that," Nixara advised gently. "It feeds off self-esteem." "Of course it does," Michael muttered. "And I bet the gravy gaslights you." He squeezed her hand as they stepped into the center of the space. The court receded, leaving only that humming presence in the air, as if the very fabric of reality was leaning forward to eavesdrop. Michael adjusted his jacket, now stitched with fragments of truth from his trial, and tried to look ceremonial. A glowing thread drifted down between them. It pulsed once and began to encircle their hands. "You have chosen each other," the court intoned from every direction, and none. "Despite imbalance, despite temporal fragility, despite the utter weirdness of your species combination." Michael cleared his throat. "Is this the part where I say, 'I do,' or do we have to engage in a ritual dance of the entropy frogs?" "You may speak," came the amused reply. He turned to Nixara. Her long ears flicked slightly, and her silver gaze held him in place like gravity. The woman who had first appeared in his life by hijacking a corporate drone and threatening to make him her eternal blood host now stood beside him with quiet strength, offering not just immortality, but a choice. His own choice. "I still don't know how the universe works," he began. "I don't even know how to fix a phase coil without setting off the fire alarms. But I know I want to keep waking up beside you. Even if that means dealing with space politics, sparkly trial judges, and whatever that thing is whispering about my chin symmetry." The mashed potato creature gurgled approvingly. "I want to exist with you," he said. "Whatever that means, however long that takes." Nixara smiled, her fangs just barely visible, though softened now by affection. She lifted her other hand and placed it on his chest. "You are the first anomaly I didn't want to destroy," she whispered. "The first variable I refused to resolve. You are finite, and that terrified me. But your heart, it makes the infinite bearable." The glowing thread tightened, then vanished in a puff of stardust. There was no explosion, no thunderous pronouncement, just the sudden awareness that something had changed. They were bound, not by ancient law, but by choice, cosmic in scale, intimate in weight. The court began to fade, the judges nodding. Well, the short one grumbled something about emotional paperwork and disappeared in a cloud of disgruntled punctuation. Glim reappeared in a new form, a sleek silver cat with wings and a clipboard. "You are now legally registered as a trans-civilizational pair bond under Clause 18 of the Cosmic Accord," it announced. "Congratulations. Please enjoy the complimentary star muffins and the untraceable escape route I programmed into the shuttle." Michael blinked. "You gave us a way out?" GLIM twitched its whiskers. "Well, yeah. Just in case the judges voted to dissolve your atoms in alphabetical order. I'm thorough." They returned to the shuttle where the vessel hummed gently with the power of decisions made and consequences embraced. The moment they left the realm, space settled around them like a favorite blanket that only occasionally tried to eat your dreams. Nixara set the course for somewhere uncharted. "No destination?" Michael asked, raising an eyebrow. "Only direction," she replied. "Forward." He flopped into the pilot seat and sighed. "So, married to a vampire alien queen. Didn't see that coming during my annual review. You still have to update your Earth records. Glim reminded him. Your status now reads, Other, pending cosmic integration. Michael chuckled. I'll wear it with pride. They jumped to FTL, the stars stretching, the ship sighing with its new upgrades. Nixara leaned against him, watching the void blur. Do you miss Earth? She asked. Sometimes, he admitted. Mostly the food and terrible reality shows. Oh, and the way gravity didn't question my life choices every time I stood up too fast. Nixara raised a brow. We could visit. You'd need a disguise. I'll wear sunglasses. That always works. She laughed. Not her usual cryptic purr, but something bright, almost human. He leaned into it, content, changed. Not in the obvious glowing around the eyeballs kind of way, though that was still a thing, but in the quiet spaces between thoughts. The parts where he used to feel small. Now he felt like a thread in something enormous. And he wasn't being pulled. He was weaving. Later, when the stars calmed and the hum of the engines fell into a lull, he looked over at her. She was reading something, a text that flickered between languages, her long ears twitching in focus. Hey, he said, tell me something you've never told anyone. She looked at him, and for the first time her expression held uncertainty. I once tried to write poetry, she said finally, in a collapsing dialect that only existed for 17 hours. Was it good? Terrible, but the grammar was exquisite. He laughed. You ever going to share it? Only if you agree to sing that Earth ballad again, the one about the toxic romantic advice disguised as motivation. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. That one, it is. Profound. He grinned. Deal. They drifted together into the future. Two improbable variables in an equation no mathematician would dare solve. Michael, the glowing human with a growing capacity for the impossible. Nixara, the immortal queen who had finally chosen to be finite with someone. And somewhere far behind them, the court shimmered once and closed, satisfied, for now, with the anomaly they had become. The naturally